Hi, my name's Starsky and welcome to From the Studio on Clubbing TV. In this episode, I'm going to take a look at Behringer's latest tiny little budget synth. It's their Pro VS Mini. When I say this is tiny, I really do mean it's tiny. It's just about the same size as my hand, and it does go in your pocket. It's a pity it's not battery operated actually. And it's based on this. It's the Prophet VS from Sequential, and this was made between 1986 and 1987. And it's quite rare this, because it was between the transition of analog and digital. So the DX7 that came out and everything had buttons and not knobs. So you can see the interface on this is very button laden. And it actually calls itself a digital synth, not an analog synth, because analog was considered bad back then. And the genius of this was this little joystick we've got over here on the left. And this modulates between the four voices. You get 4 oscillators per voice, and you just wiggle the joystick. I'll show you in a minute, and it just moves from wave shape to wave shape. And it was just a clever little thing at the time. But yeah, completely superseded by the DX7 and the D50 and the like at the end of the 80s. So not many of these around, which is why the Pro VS Mini from Behringer has been such a popular release. And you can see, like the big one, we've got this little joystick here that blends between oscillators A, B, C, and D. And we've got a few more knobs on the front of this as well for easy access to a load of parameters. It doesn't have as many parameters as the original. We've got 3 envelopes here. You've got 3 envelopes on the original, but these are just simple ADSRs. On the original, they're a bit more complex. And the 2 LFOs are hardwired to the filter and the pitch, whereas on the original, we've got this little mob matrix that just gives you a lot more flexibility. But it is very much the essence of the original. We've got 127 waveforms in there, digital waveforms going through an analog filter. So you get those digital sort of glassy sounds. In fact, there's one here called Glass. This is the sort of sound you couldn't easily do, or couldn't do at all maybe, on a standard analog. So let's start by taking a look at the interface, because there's a lot going on in a very small space. As I say, about the size of my hand. So yeah, lots going on with a small interface. Just take a look at what we got on the top here first. It's powered by USB-C. Volume, our output is just a little headphone out. We've got sync for syncing up to other kit, and then we've got 5-pin DIN MIDI in if you want to use that. Here we got the main synth parameters, and then on the bottom we've got a little keyboard that I've never really used the keyboard. I'm normally using another keyboard because this is so small, but down on the bottom there we can see we've got a load of different functions, system functions, sync, tempo, ARP and sequencer. It does have an ARP and a sequencer on it, LFO, oscillator, filter, mix and program. So if we hit function, these are all flashing and means we're in the function menus. So if we hit menu 1, system, and we hit it again, so that's ARP settings. And then we've got the oscillator engine settings, the master tuning. So we keep on hitting it to flick through different menu items. Most of them have just got a single menu actually. Envelope's got a few. And to come out of the function, we hit that. These data entry buttons are for obviously entering data. Normally use them for changing the program, unless you're in the function mode, in which case it changes the functions. So if we're going to function and go into envelope, filter envelope amount, up and down. If that's shown on the camera, I hope it is. Come out of function, and then we... To change the octave of that keyboard, we hit function, octave up. So, octave, whoops, function, octave up again. So yeah, it can be a bit fiddly to use using this keyboard. function octave down, function again, function octave down again, come out of function. Filter envelope, an amp envelope, and a mix, and we move between them using these buttons. Again, LFO, 1 or 2, and then oscillators A, B, C, and D. So if we go to the filter envelope, let's add some envelope to that. Let's add some to the amplifier as well. Let's knock those sustains up. So yes, it is a paraphonic synth, it's not polyphonic. We go to, which sound was it here that I thought was quite good to show this on? Slow strings. So we've got 4 notes playing, but they don't all have their own filter like you would on a polyphonic synth, because each of those notes there, you'd expect them to be building again or dropping. But they're not. They're doing the same as everything else. But you can hear that they're all building in separately. So the amplifier is polyphonic, but the filter is paraphonic. Basically, one filter between 4 voices. But you can play chords on it. Okay, then let's go a little bit more in depth and see exactly how the oscillators work and how you use this joystick. This joystick moves between each of the oscillators or modulates between them. So and if we come into the envelope here, the mix envelope, so again, we get to this mix envelope point, and this shows us where we are. It shows us the blend of the oscillators. And why this synth was so special in the first place, or the original was because we're not getting any drop in volume as we go from one to the other, if there's any change in volume, because obviously in the center, we're playing all 4 of them. When we're over on A, we're just playing 1 of them. But it doesn't drop in volume. That was the clever bit. But what does it mean by mix end point? Well, this mix envelope we've got here blends or does this automatically, basically. So end point 0, and then we've got end point 1, end point 2, end point 3, and end point 4. So we've got 5.0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we blend through them using this mix here. And if we go to the mix envelope, let's come out of function. The mix envelope, we've got the time between 0 and 1, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4. So you can hear it automatically doing stuff there. So let's just whiz all these down to 0 so we can hear that it is actually doing something. So this will take us straight to point 4. Yeah, you can hear the cut-offs doing something as well. But if we start increasing these times, you can hear it's blending or doing something between each of these points. And what it's doing on point 1, point 2, point 3, and point 4 is dictated by what we set in here. Let's just change it, shall we? So point 0, we'll just have as much A as we can. Point 1, we'll have as much B as we can. Point 2, we'll have as much C as we can. And then point 3, we'll have D. And then point 4, go to the center, as near to the center as I can get it. Yeah, it's given us much more distinctive changes between A, B, C, and D. Interestingly though, if you wiggle this, you can do really nice little effects with it, but when you press the key again, it'll always go back to the start of that mix. So if I drop it down to D here, when I play it again, it starts back at A. And that's exactly what the original did as well. So that's your oscillators. That's basically what a vector synth does. Let's take a listen to some of the sounds it's got in here, shall we? And I have played this versus my original unit. In fact, when it first came out, I did the video showing how unlike the original it actually was, and then Behringer did an update and made it a little bit better. And it didn't sound like my original because it didn't sound as gritty, as grungy, or as bright. So they've added new voice modes in this. So we go to function, we go into the system menu. So again, we get these different oscillator engines. So it's on modern bright at the minute. And that's brighter than modern. You might not be able to hear it on that tone. Yeah, you can hear it there, can't you? It's slightly duller on modern. And on vintage, you can hear lots of noise in there, sort of aliasing and odd stuff. And that's what the originals did. It doesn't sound like this, but it does a similar sort of thing. If we go really low, you can hear all that noise in there. But on the other models, it's not there. So if you want it to sound sort of older, a bit crushed, a bit odd, in a nice way, use vintage mode. Anyway, that's the Prophet VS. What are my final thoughts? It's about £90. It's like a Christmas present or a stocking filler. It's a good little synth. It's not a Prophet VS. If you look at my Starsky Car YouTube channel, I've done a couple of demos with it against the big unit, and it's not the same. It's based on it. It's got the same sort of looks. It's the same sort of idea, but for 90 quid, you can't really knock it, can you? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, don't forget you can catch it whenever you like on our Clubbing TV official YouTube channel on the From the Studio playlist. And as I say, take a look at my Starsky Car YouTube channel if you want to see some more in-depth bits and bobs about this. And I'll see you in the next episode of From the Studio.